like KSI levels of audience members of like millions of followers in their audience overweighing everyone else's participation. So there is a system involved to stop that from happening. But yeah, it's really interesting to watch.
What's KSI?
KSI is probably the world's most famous YouTuber.
Oh,
I actually taught one of the Sidemen.
Really?
Yeah.
What? How to
Make games? Yeah, Ethan Bazinga.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Was he any good?
Yeah, he was. He got a distinction.
Well done, Ethan.
Hi, Ethan.
Welcome to the Ready Aim Fire podcast, where today we are joined by the amazing Ryan Laley of Ryan Laley Games. This one is incredibly interesting, especially for any of you budding game devs. Enjoy. Brian, thanks for coming. Can you just talk us through how you got your start in gaming and what led you on to becoming a sound developer?
So I actually started off as a teacher, teaching games development at colleges and universities, and I kind of never stopped, really. I was just doing it the whole entire time, and it kind of naturally evolved from that as a passion for the subject. And we just carried on going with it, and it turned into a career. Started on YouTube, and then there's like, okay, let's actually try and make stuff and put stuff out there. And lo and behold, we're here now. So yeah, it worked out quite all right. But we started originally. I got into gaming because I remember I was reading a magazine, if you remember what the one of those were, doing a competition of design your own Resident Evil game. And it was during school, and I was doing half term. I was like, oh, we'll do that. And originally I wanted to be an architect, so I was like into drawing maps and things like that. And I got into designing maps for games, and kind of went on that trajectory and never looked back, really.
Do you think there's any similarities between wanting to be an architect and then getting into games development, that you're sort of like an architect of a world rather than like a building?
Yeah, it is, but there's like more than just like, designing it for aesthetics reasons. You're thinking all the time about how people are going to be maybe using the space and like how to navigate it, like what's going to be accessible to them. And it's the same sort of like principles when you're doing level design and in general just game design. Is you're constantly thinking about your end user and thinking, what do they want to use this for? Like, they're going into a space, what can be done here? And you try and do it as economically as possible, which is what you're also trying to do as an architect and things like that. So it was a very similar trajectory with those in there, but this one's more zombies and space marines than a normal factory.
I'm going to pinch this from Smartless, actually, for my sister Zoe out there, who's actually really likes this podcast. And I could give her a layman's kind of explanation of what a developer in games is. But could you just let us know, in a nutshell, what a developer in games does?
It's a really big nutshell. It's basically we come up with an idea, and we think about how we can incorporate that idea by using art and programming, sound, and try to put something together that we want to tell, maybe a story, maybe we want to entertain someone with an idea that we've had, something interactive. It's very, very different. And what I really liked about doing games development is every game is very, very different from one another. Like the film, you're telling stories and telling character stories or telling other types of stories. But in games, there's it feels like a much larger variety out there of different types of projects you can be working on. Some can be more cerebral, some could be more entertainment based, and that's really exciting, especially when you see those popular games do really, really well. And the popular games range from Balatro, which is a roguelike poker game, to Call of Duty, very famous shooter game. And that is such a large range of titles. It's really exciting to basically be part of that and like come up with different ideas. Like it's really cool to be creative, and that's what I like about being in development. And as a developer, you're just being a creative person. That's what's really exciting about it.
Am I right in thinking you're taking on even more though than you would? You're the writer, maybe you're the director. You've done the treatments.
Yeah.
It's your embryonic idea, and then you do lots of other stuff as well that maybe get passed to different people within the film world.
Yeah. So I'm a solo developer, so it is very wearing lots of many hats. And one day I'll be wearing my programming hat, the other day I'll be wearing my HR, legal hat, accounting hat, marketing, all these various different roles with the right about as well as making the game. and you are kind of like trying to basically fit a whole studio into your own time and headspace. It can be overwhelming, and so you try to divide up your time a lot more and try your best to fulfill those roles as best you can. Sometimes, hopefully, relying on the kindness of others and the charity of friends, hopefully as well.
Was the aim always to be a solo dev, or was that just something that happened out of necessity?
Something just happened out of necessity, really. Like I always wanted to be making games. That's all I cared about, and we kind of fell into the solo development role because I was teaching at the time, and it felt like a good like hobby. And I've always said like this wasn't my job; it'd be my hobby, and it just so happened I fall into a job that pays me to do my hobby, which I feel very blessed to have that opportunity. Not many people get that, and like, and it just went on from there. Really, just evolved naturally from there. Would I ever say no to working in a studio with hundreds of people? No, I would happily do that. And I've worked with teams before doing freelance projects and things like that. But no preference either way, really.
You have more control. When I'm guessing the positives of being a solo dev is you can okay everything or make all the decisions essentially as nobody else.
You can make all the decisions, but that also means you have 100% of the responsibility on your shoulders, which can be a bit daunting. But having that flexibility and freedom to just change things on a dime, it makes things a lot quicker. One of the biggest problems you'll have in a studio is when you want to make a change, that usually has to go up a chain of people. But as a solo developer, if I want to make a change, I'll just make a change. It's not a big deal. I've tried to limit that and try to put some restraints on that, because as a solo developer, you don't want to be in that mind space of like, oh, I can just change things whenever I want, because otherwise you'll get into this pattern of never actually finishing a project because you're constantly wanting to tweak, change, and manipulate things. So you kind of have to put your own filter into your head and think, okay, what do I want to actually to achieve with this? And so when we were developing a title, one of the big things we come up with at the start of a project is something called the game pillars. And so we'll come up with something called game pillars, which are 3 pillars. And well, it doesn't have to be 3. I tend to do 3. But these are things that are like the rule sets. These are the themes of the game. This is what I want the game to actually be and I want it to achieve. And every design decision, every choice I make, I always go back to those pillars and say, does this still fit these pillars? If it does, great, we'll head it in. And it also helps us evaluate the current ideas. Like, is the current idea weak, strong? I can work that out by looking at the pillars that we've chosen for the game we're working on. So, for example, in Mimic, we've got 3 pillars in there, and one of them is sabotage. And we want players to sabotage each other and constantly think about how they could sabotage each other. So every mechanic we're coming up with and every sort of design choice comes into, I just revert back to that and go, what can we do with this? And I still do the design paperwork and do all that, just to keep me focused on what I actually want to achieve.
The sabotage idea.
Very cool. I've got lots to ask you about Mimic.
Yeah.
Very exciting project. Before I do, you sort of touched on this, but I'd like you to like elaborate a little bit further. So would you say you're less of a perfectionist and like a tinkerer and more of a get it out there, test it, adapt?
Yeah, definitely that one. Yeah. As a developer, you have to pick up the skill of iteration a lot quicker. You can't spend forever perfecting it. Otherwise, you're going to realize that you're just not going to have it done. You're going to be constantly tweaking it. So we want to make sure that we are putting it out there, getting feedback from people playing the game. But eventually, you do have to like just realize like some projects just have to be done. And we have to move on to the next one. We can't spend our whole life working on it. We do have to move on. We do have to get paid eventually, and like there's various things to worry about there. But yeah, it's very much an iterative approach. Put it out, see what sticks, see what works, and then react on it. And that's something you can do as a solo developer versus a studio. A studio, again, you've got a lot more barriers put up in front of you where you can't just release an idea or pitch an idea to the crowd and see what they think. They have to go through a load of approvals. Solo developers, not such a problem.
And so it's your IP as well. So
yeah, it's my IP, my audience, my studio. I can just go to them and go, hey, what do you think of this idea? And I can build based upon their feedback, which really does speed up that workflow.
The budget, then, I wonder, is the other. I was just thinking of the other things being a solo dev. that must be affected, because you can make these decisions, but I guess that you're kind of got that you've got that limitation. But actually, I suppose with something like the Unreal Engine, you can do everything on the Unreal Engine, right? You don't.
Yeah. The explosion of democratized software has really helped developers be able to make stuff really quickly, and not just make any old stuff. We can make stuff that looks AAA quality work really, really quickly, and that really does help. And if we didn't have that, then yeah, your budget and all that would be a lot more constrained. You'd be a lot more restricted in what you can do. But being a solo developer, you can now produce titles which can look amazing next to like their AAA counterparts with relative ease. And we also see it with like the marketplace of store assets you can get. People putting up all sorts of character assets you can just use if you want to use them. So you don't necessarily have to have a whole team of people around you. You can rely on characters from the marketplace, or if you're using Unreal, you can use MetaHuman, which is what we use for Mimic, to put your characters that you want into that game.
So you said you rely quite a lot on like the kindness of strangers, especially as a solo dev. So is that mainly around things like that, like assets and like artwork, I suppose? Because I wanted to talk to you specifically about the artwork for Mimic, which I think is incredible, and immediately makes me think of, you know, The Thing and all that kind of stuff. So is that where you're, you know, asking the community to help you?
Yeah, literally everywhere and anywhere. We rely on marketplace assets. Have my own stuff that I've made and edited, and we'll take assets and edit them or create them from scratch. I've got friends from industry in animation and film and games who like pitching in ideas. I've got people who watch the YouTube channel and are big fans of that and want to support and do their help. I had some people from Sony helping me with some motion capture stuff they were doing. I was like, sweet, yeah, come do that for me if you want. But also like trying to take advantage of, not the wrong wording, they're trying to take opportunity of the resources around you as well. So one thing I wanted to do was make sure I was involved in the community, but also helping them grow as well. So I went to a local college and university of mine and asked them, like, do they want some work experience? Being from a college background, teaching background, I know there's a prerequisite that they need to have their students doing work experience. So I was like, do you want to do work experience for me? You've got a project for Foley sound effects. I need some Foley sound effects. Do you want to try and do it? And they jumped at the chance. It was great to see them working on it in a professional capacity as well. And I got loads of results back from it. And the one we ended up using was as good as a studio quality level work that they made in their backyard. And I've said, right, that's going in the game. We'll put you in the credits. Massive thank you. And I said to her, like, if you don't mind, I'd like to pay for you to do some more eventually as well. So we've relied on that as well and say, hey, we can help you out and you can help us out. And those mutual sort of assistance between each other really does help, especially in that solo world. Yeah.
Oh, and just people doing it as well for the love of it to begin with, and then the future money of it all. Great way to begin your career, an opportunity for them. Wow.
Yeah, it does help. We build such a big community of people watching our stuff that we'll get emails from people saying like, "Hey, can I be your project manager? I just want to help you with this." And I'm tempted to take them up on it and go, "Yeah, please help me, like manage me a little bit. Tell me what I need to be focusing on. That'd be great." So it's wonderful to have that sort of community around you. And the nice thing about the indie game scene is that everyone wants to help each other. Everyone's really, really friendly. And you go to things like GDC and other events, and everyone's there going, "Ooh, I know who can help you. Let me put you in touch with them." Or, "I know a great piece of software that you want to use. I'll get you a code for it, whatever." Those opportunities are great, and you don't get that in many other industries where people are just willing to jump at and help you. I still get messages on LinkedIn from people I met from years ago saying, "Hey, I've got some work. Do you want some work coming your way? Or if you want any help, let us know." It's been great.
I feel like that is similar, like parallels to the film industry though. Like the film industry over the last X amount of years has gone into like the blockbuster territory where everything's very tightly controlled. It's massive budgets. It's very little flexibility. And I feel like the games industry has done that of late as well. Like you see some of these games, they've got like $200 million budgets and stuff. And, things get leaked and people lose their jobs and all that kind of stuff. Whereas, we were at GDC as well, so when we first met, the that indie community, as you say, is so tight knit, and it's like, you know, lots of pirate ships all together in a little flotilla, like helping each other out against the bad guys. And I think, well, they're probably the bad guys. Pirates are the bad guys, kids. But no, I just thought it was really lovely, and it was really nice to see it firsthand.
Yeah, it is really refreshing. And when you're doing stuff solo, you forget that there is a large community out there that is available for you to get help from. So going to GDC is refreshing because it gets me out of my office. I'm like, oh, there's a whole world out here, and I can actually talk to people and get some fresh air at the same time, which is nice.
One of my questions was, is it lonely being a solo dev?
It can be. Yeah, it can be long hours, lonely. But as I say, we try and do like networking events, things like that. So I'm thankful I live somewhere where we have regular networking events at a local bar, which is nice just to hang out, chat with other developers. Even students will attend that as well, and we can share insights with them, and they ask us questions as well. It's really good to get that sort of, again, communal feeling of the local area.
How are you, the teaching and the game development? That sounds like a lot.
It is. It's a lot of sleepless nights. When I started doing both, I was working basically from 6 a.m. till 5 p.m, putting the kids to bed, or for dinner, put the kids to bed, and then working again from 9 p.m. till 2 a.m.
Oh, God.
I was doing that for about a year and a half until I was like, I can't do that anymore. Let's dial it back a bit. And so now we're trying to be a bit more healthy with it. And one of the things I do a lot of talks about when I go to like universities and do talks is about making sure you look after your mental health and timing and things like that, and give yourself a break.
Yeah, what's those videos you see of, you know, like influencers where like I get up at 2 a.m, and I go to the gym for 2 hours, and then I eat some eggs, and then I run for 4 hours, and
Yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah. The problem, because the world is a double-edged sword, because the world is really connected and global, but at the same time, time zones are a thing. And so I remember having a project where I was helping doing some work with another studio, and we had our lead program in Turkey. I was in the UK. Our main development studio was in Argentina, and the producers and publishers were in LA. So getting us all on a call together was very difficult. And yeah, that was a 2 a.m. Zoom call for me, and we did that every week.
You've obviously built up like a huge community on YouTube. Was it like 190,000 subscribers or something?
Oh, I've looked, yeah,
Yeah.
about that.
So how did that come about, and how has that helped you with your game development?
I mean, yeah, massively. So it all started when I was teaching in a normal college and with students in a classroom, and one half term my students were going away, and they came back and they had got stuck. They got problems with their code. And I was like, okay, let's have a look at your code. And I could tell right away that they basically just copied off the internet somewhere. And I was like, okay, show me where you learned or found this. And they showed me some YouTube videos, and they weren't the greatest, because it was just literally, here's, just do this, and it'll work. And I was like, that's no good, right? I'll make some videos for you. So during the half term, when you don't have me, you can still learn some basics. And that's how it got started. So I just filming stuff for my students. And not too long after that, people started clocking onto it and being like, actually, this is actually quite useful. Because our approach was, we're not going to just show you how to do it. We're going to explain why we're doing it this way, why it works this way, and go from there. And being a teacher has been a great experience, because as a teacher, one of the best skills you learn is how to learn things quickly, because students throw all sorts of questions your way. Because they're all you've got maybe 30 projects going on at the same time, all very different. Everyone's got different problems. So you have to learn quickly how to solve every single problem under the sun. So it kind of forces you into a boiling pot of okay, well, I need to learn this quickly. And so doing that really does help. And when you start now doing that to now 120,000 people, that becomes a lot more voices. People saying, oh, I'm stuck on this problem, I don't know how to do this, or there's a new feature, a new Unreal Engine version, can you help us with this? It's like, sure, I'll figure it out and get back to you. And so a lot of the job is, when you're teaching, is taking the information and retranslating it into a more digestible outcome that you can actually communicate to people. And if they still don't get it, the other skill you have is to do that again and come up with different ways to teach it. And that really did help build my understanding of game development and build my skill set up, and also build my confidence up with like software to be able to do stuff on my own, and not be afraid to like take chances of stuff and spend time working out on things. So it really did help out, and yeah, so it just built up from there. And it was, I think, 2 years in, we were like, okay, we're now making enough money from that to do that full time. Let's jump ship and do it full time. And we've been doing it ever since.
This has come up time and time again. Doug Cockle mentioned it, Michael Geary mentioned it, how teaching is just brilliant. Obviously, the reward of teaching, but then also, like, this is actually really great. I didn't hear this before, how quickly you have to sometimes get on it, but the focus you get, and how actually teaching means that you get to know your profession or your vocation better, because you're actually having to tell somebody else about it. So you get a deeper meaning in a way when you teach, which is so true. The few times I've done it, I'm like, I really need to understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it here to facilitate and tell someone about it. Just like
exactly. Yeah, being able to explain it to someone who doesn't have an idea, and also explain it to children who, I say children, mostly teenagers and young adults, who also have like learning difficulties, and they can't learn via traditional methods. It's like, okay, well, I've got to go up with a different method to teach you this. And that really does help out, speed up that process as well.
What resources are, so I know you've got a very active Patreon as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what resources do people get if they sign up to your Patreon?
So on Patreon, we offer a number of different things. So at any stage of Patreon, like any tier, you get all our videos early before anyone else. So it's from $1, you get access to all our video content months ahead from everyone else. And at different tiers, people get access to our project files, Discord tier roles they can get access to. And at the top tier, you can also get private sessions. So we get a lot of private people asking for private sessions and training, one-to-one training, or just one-to-one help on their projects they're working on. And a lot of people sign up for that one as well. So much so that we've got people that have signed up to that, and they have paid for extra sessions on top of that to get more frequent one-to-ones.
Like a consultancy kind of thing.
Yeah. And that's been our bread and butter of getting income in to help develop Mimic.
On Mimic, I noticed that you started doing playtests, live playtests, which were like really interesting to watch. As someone who's a gamer, I'm a gaming fan, but I'm not a dev. I don't understand necessarily how the sausage is made. It was really interesting to watch you talking through it with people. So yeah, how often are you going to be doing them, and how useful have they been so far?
Yeah, so they're going to be weekly. So every Thursday evening British time, we're going to do a live playtest. And I wanted to live stream it for a couple of reasons. One is I wanted people to learn from that experience and like go, hey, let's see a raw test of a game, like what actually happens when we want to test a game with people. But also, secondly, to help build marketing effort towards the game as well, because we are solo, we don't have a big budget, we can't just spend hundreds of thousands on a advert here and there. So we want to build up an audience that say like, hey, let's get people's eyes on this thing early doors, and also get feedback from them live. We want people to give us feedback, and the big studios will do things like focus groups where they'll put people in a room, watch them play the game, take notes, and work on it. I obviously don't have those resources. So my resource is YouTube, and getting those people involved in that process at that stage is worth, well, unlimited amount. Because anyone can jump in at any stage, leave comments as well. I've had people come in and say like, oh, notice this bug. I've got a suggestion how you could fix it. I'm like, cool. Yeah, that's great. It's like having 100,000 developers that all want to learn and understand with you and help you with the project.
Great use of social media there. Brilliant. And
Yeah.
mutually beneficial. Well,
Yeah.
you know, they must love that opportunity.
Yeah, the live streams we do in general, people really love seeing that raw development site, like that process, because we do a weekly Q&A as well on a Wednesday. We do a live stream where people can ask any question they like. It's not pre-fielded or anything like that. They just ask whatever they want live, and I'll try and answer it live. And a lot of the time, I don't know the answer, so I'll be like, I don't know the answer to that. Let's figure it out. And I'll explain my learning process as I'm developing the answer. I'm going, okay, this is why I'm going. This is what I'm trying to figure out. And it may not work. It may not work. It may work. It may not work. We'll figure it out together. And people really like that. They really commented and saying how much they love seeing the process. Too many people will show the end result of the finished article than polished product. And when you're learning, that's not what's interesting. What's learning is the mistakes people make and the failures. What didn't go right, that's what you learn the most from. So, yeah.
I think it's interesting as well because a lot of people, even people who work in games, don't necessarily understand that a game isn't necessarily just a product, it's an experience. So, like, yeah, as you say, the experience of how it's made is just as important as, what happens at the end. And when you've finished the game, is you play it for the means, not for the end. Like when the credits roll, it's not quite that cut and dry. Like you go and see a movie, pay your, $20 or whatever it is, and then leave.
Yeah, people get invested in games for a lot longer. And when you're solo, you are trying your best to try and get people involved and stick with it as much as you can, because you don't have the budget to, we're just going to put out a TV advert and get a whole new audience coming in, and we can't do that. So we want to get people invested early doors and say like, hey, this is as much as your project as it is mine. Help me. And in return, they like people who help me with playtesting, they've got the game for free to help test it. And we'll be opening up to more people over time as we expand it out and just like, okay, we need another 10 more people or another 100 people or whatever. And so Patreon members will also get keys, and so a lot of them already do have keys to test it out. And we'll be testing it out on PlayStation, Xbox, a PC, because we're going to do cross-play with it. So yeah, really really handy.
For those people who don't know, tell us what Mimic is.
Yeah, we mentioned it a few times. Let's actually explain it. So Mimic is an online multiplayer survival horror game, and the way I've described it to people is imagine an Alien Isolation game mixed with Among Us. So it's a multiplayer Alien Isolation, and players essentially there's 5 of them. One of them is a mimic, so they look human, but they can at any point tear off their skin and reveal themselves as the alien creature and go on the hunt. And one of them was also an agent who is secretly working against everyone else in the party. And the goal is to, like Among Us and other social deduction games, is to complete objectives, solve puzzles, get to the exit. But stopping your progress is a giant android that walks around the corridors, and he's stalking you, trying to kill you all, and you can vote and control who he targets as well. And if you're feeling extra spicy, you can hook up to Twitch, and your Twitch chat can also vote on who the android should target as well, which is interesting.
Yeah.
You can imagine like the popularity contest that happen there. But yeah, so and the idea is that we're going to launch with 1, maybe 2 maps, and each map will have a slightly different game mode attached to it. So the second one's more like a control game mode where players have to hold different spots across the map, but obviously one person's not wanting to do that and wanting to sabotage it. The third map is going to have more like repo mechanics where you've got to go in and get salvage material and escape and payload it out of the map. Meanwhile, getting hunted down by a giant 10-foot robot who's trying to kill you.
As you do.
Yeah, we've been working on some interesting glory kills lately with the android. I'm excited to get more of those in there. The one we've got at the moment is he'll grab your head and crush it with one hand.
Nice.
With nice blood and guts everywhere.
And it's all first person, isn't it?
Yeah, all first person, and as I said, cross-play multiplayer parties. And we also have a feature where if you're in a private lobby, private session, you can turn on different rule sets, so you can change how the game plays. So if you want to have 2 androids walking around, sure. If you want to make it so everyone has a broken leg so no one can run, you can do that. If you want to make it so that all the fires that start can't be put out because all the fire extinguishers gone, you can also do that. So basically, you've got a load of toggles that you can turn off and on, and you can really break the game, make it really hard, impossible for you. But we wanted to do that because from the get-go, the game was designed with streamers in mind, and we wanted to make a tool where people could make content from it. And so we're thinking, well, we're imagining the thumbnails people were making for content and saying like, okay, we're going to turn every setting on and see what kind of mayhem happens. And like, cool, yeah, let's see that happening. Like, if you break the game, I don't care. That's down to you. It's only a private match. If it's a private match, you can do whatever you like. Yeah, have fun with it. It's your toy. I'm just making the blocks for you to build your toy with, and that's really exciting stuff to think about. Is constantly thinking about how we want streamers, and hence the Twitch chat integration. We've got more plans and ideas of how to do that, more stuff with that. As it's quite exciting new technology to get involved and make it interactive for audience participation as well. Because people consume games differently as well nowadays. They don't just play the game. A lot of people just watched a game. So we'll make it fun for them as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of another game where that is a thing you can do. I don't think there is one.
No,
Yeah.
no. There's a couple of things like people have made like mods and hacks for like Pokemon. They can type in commands and try and commands. Oh, like Pokemon get
Fish. You had the fish in the bowl, didn't you? You had to complete Pokemons. That was
different weird things like that, and people have experimented with it, but it's something that we were adamant about. Once we've learned about the API from Twitch, we're like, okay, this could be fun. Let's see what we can do with this. And it's difficult because you have to balance it as well, because if you don't want your players having like KSI levels of audience members of like millions of followers in their audience overweighing everyone else's participation. So there is a system involved to stop that from happening. But yeah, it's really interesting to watch.
What's KSI?
KSI is probably the world's most famous YouTuber.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry,
Oh, the
KSI.
I actually taught one of the Sidemen.
Really?
Yeah.
What? How to
Make games? Yeah, Ethan Bazinga.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Was he any good?
Yeah, he was. He got a distinction.
Well done, Ethan.
Hi, Ethan. If you remember.
Well, you mentioned that you've got like kills in Mimic.
Yeah.
So because obviously you were in Alien Isolation, did you have to act any of the kills? You know, like when the alien catches you, was it inspired by that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You have to act out any of that with like the tail going through the chest and all that.
Yes. Yeah. All that. And all the other guys. It was brilliant. It was more fun watching the others.
Right.
I think she witnesses quite a lot, doesn't she, sometimes?
Yeah.
But yeah, who knows if they used them in the end, but we definitely were allowed to do all the kills. I'm not sure we got raised. It's a good, I mean, this was over, was it 15 years ago now? But did we get raised up? Because there's a lot of that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Getting raised up. I'm trying to remember if we had anyone on walls or anything like that.
How would you do that, with wires or?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I think maybe back then it would probably be standing on
A box.
on a box or on some scaffolding and then doing the action of it.
So on a forklift or something.
Yeah.
It was really fun. Last night I watched, or was it the day before us guys spoke, and I watched the trailer and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to try and play this before coming on, because it really gripped me watching the trailer, and then I had a Mac, so I
we
failed.
asked you to put it on Mac as well, but I know Macs are great.
We'll see.
We'll see. Well, I've got a PlayStation 5, so you can come around my house and move down there.
Yeah.
And teach me and learn.
Well, I might be crap at it. Yeah. Me versus KSI. Not a boxing though. He'll put
No, but yeah.
So I want to talk to you about some of your other games. Obviously, you got Chick King.
Yep, Chick King. Yep.
Am I right in saying that this game was made so that your kids would have something that you had made to play? Okay, probably.
Yeah. So I have a 7, almost 8-year-old son and a 6-year-old girl, and they can't play Mimic for numerous reasons.
Ever want to sleep again? Yeah.
So they're at the age where they understand a lot of things, but they couldn't understand what I do. I was like, oh yeah, I make video games and I make YouTube videos, and they find it very weird, especially when you go onto like YouTube and search the name and it comes up like, oh, Days on the TV. Like, why is that happening? Like, yeah. And why people are taking selfies with you in the street and doing things like it's a complicated thing. So I wanted to make a game for them, and particularly I wanted to make a game for my son who has like ADHD and autism and learning difficulties, and I really wanted something that he could enjoy and play. And so I built a game called Chicken. Over the course of 2 months, I worked on it, and I will continue to work on it. What I call my palate cleanser. When I'm getting too stressed out and my sinus is sorbet, I'm like, I'll go back to that one. Let's do the Chicken game. But I wanted to make it for him and something that they could enjoy. And I really wanted to do something that was very tactile. So literally everything you touch and do in the game reacts to what you're doing. So everything's reactive by sound or vibration or animation. Everything reacts to you doing stuff. And so it's just fun just to tap on the screen. And I really wanted to make a game like that, where it is just a fun toy as well as a game. So if you wanted to play it as a game, you can try and get the highest score, you can try and get all the secrets, but ultimately you can just go nuts and just watch chickens propel themselves across the screen. For those who don't, well, you won't know, but Chicken is basically like Lemmings, but with chickens.
Oh, yay.
With physics and other things in there, so you can launch them across the map and do all sorts of things with them and avoid traps and things.
Oh, I don't know if you've watched the Black Mirrors recently. Have you watched the new series of Black Mirror?
I've seen some of it. I watched the sequel to the one with Jesse Plemons in.
Oh, the game one, yeah.
That's the one.
It's on brand.
because it made me think of
in that case, but less
child friendly.
Yeah, more child friendly than that.
It's not
But
to do that
but it's a nice palate cleanser. It's a single player game, it's not multiplayer, so it's less stress on me. It's easier to test, it's easier to make, and it's just a goofy, fun game like where you can pop in ideas whenever you like. We'll make a cannon, okay? We'll make a cannon that blasts chickens across the map. That'd be fun. Yeah, so that'll eventually come out. We don't know when, but it's it's designed for my kids. Yeah.
Is that a mobile game?
We want to make it mobile. We'll make it for Switch. Anything that I've got a tactile screen would be really useful. And there's lots of other things we want to try out. Like the PS5, for example, they've got the adaptive triggers that like move and like resist your fingers. And I like the idea of you grabbing a chicken with the fingers and feeling it struggle underneath your touch. I thought that would be really fun because they have a haptic feedback in their controllers, and it's just me experimenting and going, oh, that'd be fun. Let's try it out. I'm very much in the mindset of nothing's impossible. I just want to have crack at it and see what's fun with it.
So would you, to do that on PlayStation 5, would you have to have like a dev kit?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I do.
Oh, you do? Oh, great. Okay. I remember when, so a dev kit is like, imagine a normal console, like a PlayStation 5, right, which you can buy in a store. Before they release that, they make what's called a dev kit, which is like an overpowered version of it that's stripped down, not for resale. In some of them, you can't even take photos of them. They're super secret. And it's basically like a PC that runs the PlayStation software. Is that a fair representation?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's basically a big PC that runs PlayStation stuff that you can test stuff on. And yes, you're right. You can't take pictures of it.
Yeah.
You can't even show nothing about it.
I remember when there was it was years ago. There were like 5 of them in Europe, and we had to get one to do some capture for a game. It was a bloody nightmare.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So you're still building it in Unreal, but then you're throwing it over, seeing what bugs happen, tweaking, sending it back.
Yeah, and credit to Unreal, like their support for that is really great. So to make it work for PS5 is literally just a drop down, change to PS5,
Amazing.
Hit the button, off it goes, and it works. So I've played PS5 Mimic, for example. All you'll really do is add all the things that Sony want. And like making all the icons correct and making the language correct and trying to support different languages and all the different accessibility options because we want to make it accessible as well. Like very aware of like horror games being restricted for people with epilepsy, for example. Mm-hmm. And so I've reached out to epileptic charities to help us like what kind of things would be helpful for us to toggle off and on to help people who do struggle with epilepsy to counter that. So we are working on accessibility options like that, for example, for the game.
So obviously, when you're doing something with a keyboard and mouse, there's a myriad different options, but on a controller, you're very limited. This is part of it. A large part of it, I imagine, is just remapping everything so that and having like what's the word? Not catalysts, but like if you're pressing L1X rather than X, like think multipliers and things like that. Modifiers rather.
Modifiers, yeah. It works like that. And there's also just a lot of things you can do with a controller that you can't do with a keyboard and mouse, and there's also a lot of things you can do with keyboard and mouse that you can't do with a controller. And you don't really notice these things until you actually start playing the game. You realise that my hands are doing weird movements to do things. A good classic one is when you see a shooter. You use the right thumbstick for looking around, but they also use a button on the face for jumping, which means, for the most part, you can't jump and look around at the same time, not easily. And so some controllers come with like back pedals now, which they allow jumping on those.
Like the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
I just bought a Steam Deck, and I'm very much a console player. I'm not part of the PC Master Race, but it's got those 4 buttons on the back, and I don't think I've used them in any games. I'm still confused by them.
No, yeah, I mean, the beauty of them is that you can program to do whatever you want, really. But there's lots of little things like that, and things that don't, like some games don't really work well at all on keyboard and mouse. So like driving games are really difficult on keyboard and mouse, but great for controllers. And likewise, RTS games are really great for keyboard and mouse, but not great for controllers. Yeah. So you have to usually you're devising interesting solutions to solve some problems there.
So but a lot of your games obviously have puzzle elements, even Mimic, which is much more sort of like towards the AAA end of the scale, has in terms of like graphical fidelity and all that kind of stuff. But would you say puzzle games or puzzle mechanics in games are your favorite, or do you have like a particular genre that you like to play in your spare time? Do you even play spare games in your spare time? Do you have spare time?
I try to play games more so nowadays. Yeah, puzzle games are a big affinity for me. I love games that make you think, and a big game I've been playing at the moment is one called Blueprints, and it is an amazing puzzle game. So I recommend it to everyone who ever like to play it. Again, made by a solo developer. Really, really strong puzzle game to the point where you need a notebook next to you to make notes to figure out the solutions to a lot of the puzzles. And yeah, I love that kind of thinking out the box, trying to solve these things. And it was really an interesting thing to solve with Mimic in that we wanted to put puzzles in because we associate puzzle with Alien Isolation, with Resident Evil. We associate like, oh, we've got to get a key to open that and ding. But when you're making a multiplayer game, the game lasts 10 minutes, not 10 hours. So you've got to think, okay, I need to present a puzzle, present the solution to players, and get them to solve it within a few minutes of the game, which is a lot trickier than it may seem. And if you played Among Us, you see how they solved it by just putting very, very simple puzzles in it, where not even a puzzle really, click a button. I didn't want it to be that simple. I still wanted it to be a bit more grown up. And yeah, that was one of the challenges when looking at a game like Among Us, like how to make that more realistic. That was one of the challenges. Okay, we want to make puzzles that are accessible and achievable by everyone within a couple of minutes, not having to scratch your head for hours upon hours. Yeah, but yeah, puzzles are definitely a big feature of my games.
I was going to ask as well, this is a bit of a dream question. So if you had, let's say you had £1 million. So I had a duffel bag of cash sitting just out of frame, the hand would be a beautiful duffel bag of cash. Yeah, that's your fee. What would be your no holds barred dream game project?
There's a game I've wanted to make for forever, since I was a child, with imagination, creating things, and it was basically inspired by Zelda. Zelda's one of my favouriteest games because I love the adventure, I love the puzzle solving and all that stuff. And there's a game I come up with a long time ago, and it's gone through various variations in my head. So that'd be quite cool to make. It would never be made because it would cost way too much money. I'd like to have that a stab at that. I think that'd be quite fun to do.
My wife loves the Zelda games. I got her a Switch as she played Breath of the Wild, and I can't remember the name.
Tears of the Kingdom. Shout out Steph, fan of the show. If you could teleport back in time and tell young Ryan a bit of advice about how to get where you are now, what would you say? Good question. Start sooner. Don't waste opportunities. You may, especially when you're young, you think you've got years and years and years and years ahead of you, and you've got plenty of chance to catch up and make up with what you want to do. That's the wrong thinking. I think I'd much rather said to myself, take the risks now. When you don't have a wife and 2 kids to worry about and a house and a mortgage, and you're thinking, oh my God, how are we going to do this? Or like, okay, the kids want to go to Disneyland. Well, let's figure out how we're going to do that amongst work. And when you're younger, take more risks. The safety net's a lot nicer when you're younger. So yeah, I wish I went back if I could do that. That would, yeah.
Like you were saying earlier about the failing is actually the most interesting thing, and the mistakes, isn't it? So just keep making.
Yeah, failure is scary when you're an adult. When you're grown up, you've got responsibilities. Failure is like, oh, actually, this is quite scary.
Consequences.
Yeah, consequences. This one. Yeah.
But you're also publisher. So you're publisher, developer, studio, essentially everything.
Yeah.
So just for our audience again, what's the publisher's role?
Yeah. So publisher role actually varies greatly, publisher to publisher, but generally speaking, they are in charge of distributing the game. A lot of publishers will also fund the development, fund the marketing, handle things like porting, translation services, things like that.
What's porting? Sorry.
Porting to different consoles. So we made the game for PC, but usually you can hire some other studio to change it to a PS5 or an Xbox version. I'm a sadist. I'm going to do it all myself. So a publisher can do all of that stuff and a few fair bit more bits there. They're generally there to help developers get their games out as well. So they'll provide services and like development support and studios to help them out with that. We don't have that luxury. So we're mostly handled for distribution and marketing and localization. So doing all of that stuff ourselves, basically.
Wow, you really are a sadist to do everything.
Yep. Yeah. But as I said, like the world's a very different place to how it was 20, 30 years ago. Publishers back then were very monopolized a lot of that stuff.
Right.
now anyone can become a publisher really cheaply and really easily. PlayStation and Xbox give you the dev kits for free. You don't have to pay for them.
Oh, wow.
You used to have to pay for them.
I was going to say, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you get them for free. Well, PlayStation is a loan for 2 years, and Xbox just give you 2 of them for free. Yeah.
And what?
I can just ask for one.
Well, you got a few more hoops to jump through than that, but yeah.
Just put it on the mantelpiece. That's mine.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, but as I was saying, like it's so much more democratized. There's a lot more modular companies out there. So localization services are really handy because there are companies out there who are just saying, "Hey, sign up for our localization services," and AI has helped out a lot in a lot of that aspect as well. So we've used AI for things like storefronts. I've got to write the description for the game, but I can't speak Italian or Portuguese or Japanese. But I can throw into AI chat and see how that goes. And for the most part, it's done it really well. So I've used AI to help us with that element as well, to help with that workload. And that's been really useful and cost effective as well.
Okay, AI is a tool, your pick. We should do that. Thumbs up.
Yeah, especially if you haven't. Yeah, it's really useful because it's cheaper. It may be not as accurate, but that's what you're trading in. Basically, you're trading accuracy for that efficient for cost effectiveness, and you've used it for those sort of services, and it is getting better but much more useful. We actually started an experimental channel on the YouTube channel where we're doing all our videos in Spanish, and so I was experimenting because again, accessibility is a big thing for me, and I said, right, I want to translate this in Spanish and see what happens. So we found an AI dubbing.
The dubbing one where you can it just does it. Honestly, that's really.
It does it, but it does it in your voice as well, which is weird. Yeah. So I did it in Spanish first because my wife speaks fluent Spanish. I was like this will be my test case. I'll get the video done. I'll get her to watch it. And she was cracking up because it sounds just like me speaking fluent Spanish, and I don't know a lick of it. So that was really promising. We were like, okay, that's quite cool. And so we're paying out of pocket for that and say, like, well, we just want to make videos for the Spanish community because we know we've got people who even learn English from my videos.
Wow.
And we've said, like, okay, well, let's try and make it more accessible and make a channel just for you guys. And so we're doing that at the moment as well.
Are there any places where you would draw the line in terms of AI involvement in your work, though? Because I know it's quite controversial with some people. Other people are much embracing of it.
I don't know. I mean, yes, a line will be drawn, but I think it's too early to tell when. It is a tool, and I have this argument with people all the time and saying, like, people said the exact same thing about AI and I did about computers and receptionists, saying computers are going to replace typists and receptionists. Why would you need a receptionist when you've got a computer that can do all this stuff? Receptionists still exist. People will say, oh, why do we have digital cameras when your phones can take pictures now? They still exist. Yeah, so it's not a case of AI going to be replacing these things. It's going to live alongside them and supplement, and it'll be better. It'll be just another tool that just helps you. And I think as creatives, we have to, like how we learned how to use a digital camera versus a film camera, we have to do that the same way. We have to, okay, it's another tool. We have to just figure out what's going to work here. There are obviously ethical things like making AI videos of people that are real people that should be a big no-no. So obviously well against all of that sort of things. But for general text, and we've also used it for concept arting as well, because again, I can't hire a concept artist. I can sketch things pretty okay, but I'm not an artist. But usually when you're trying to brainstorm ideas, it's pretty useful to go, okay, well, what would AI think a giant spaceship floating towards the sun would look like? And it would be the exact same as if I went onto Google Images and typed that in and done the research that way. But this one's more generative, and so both combined gave me an idea of, like, okay, I've got a direction of where I want to go with this. So it can be useful, but it's not going to replace anyone. That's for certain.
So your first game was 2014, is that right? Number minor?
Jesus, yeah, okay.
Yes. I'm just thinking about what you're saying in my head.
Yeah.
And then you've mentioned a few times, all the things that have changed till now. And obviously AI's a big one. But I imagine, was that 11 years? There's been, AI's a big change. Obviously social media's a big change. YouTube was around then, wasn't it? Large.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But I'm assuming it's been a massive jump in the 11 years to
Yeah.
exactly being a solo publisher developer, what you're able to get.
I mean, yeah, just if you look at Unreal Engine on its own, that has brought so many tools that we just didn't have back then. Yeah, it's just made it so much more accessible, and that's inspired other software to do similar things. And software obviously gets better and better, and as it gets better, it gets more refined, gets more efficient, and easier to learn, easier to pick up, and also cheaper. A lot of these software used to cost thousands of dollars per month or whatever. Now a lot of them are free, at least especially to learn with. They're free, and so it's really useful and really great being this time where that stuff is available to you at your fingertips. Yeah, it's really, really cool.
Are you able to explain the Unreal Engine to anyone that doesn't know in 30 seconds to a minute?
Unreal Engine is a game engine that allows you to develop and make a game inside of it. It's also used for TV and film. Mandalorian and other Star Wars projects have used it. Marvel have used it. But basically, it's a real-time rendering engine. So it allows you to make graphics that run at real time. So no render times, nothing like that. And you can make a game inside of it.
Inside 30 seconds.
Yeah, is it? Yeah, go for it.
As a game developer, what would you say to like anyone watching who wants to do what you do, whether as a solo dev, as part of a studio? What is the most important thing for a hook when you are making a game? Is it a story element? Is it a mechanic? What would it be?
When making a game, I think the number one thing is having an idea that you are interested in first and foremost, because games take a long time to make, and you want to make something that you have interest in. If you don't have interest in it, then it won't matter. So if you're going to do one that's based like story driven, do a story that you want to tell. If you want to be a storyteller, great, perfect. But if you don't, like if you're doing it as like a side thing, like I don't really care for story, I just want to do mechanic stuff, like okay, then you're going to get really annoyed at your project really quickly. So be prepared that you'll be making this game for a number of years. So pick something that you can enjoy doing, something that you enjoy playing as well. And I picked Mimic as a big project to follow up with because partly because as we've established, I'm a sadist, and I've never made a horror game before. And I was like, I want to have a crack at making a horror game. And again, that's sadism coming back in. I'm making multiplayer as a thing. So I was really interested in making a multiplayer horror title and looking at other indie games and what they've done and seeing, okay, we can do something different here. I didn't want to do like a dark room with a flashlight. I wanted to do something a bit more exciting, a bit more interesting, inspired by Alien and like The Thing. And we actually started off with The Thing as the inspiration for that game. Like the thing, the scene with the blood test scene.
One of my favourite scenes in cinema.
Yeah. I really wanted to capture not necessarily the horror of that scene, but the social dynamic of that scene of like the tense nature of like who can you trust, and then it's suddenly been someone completely different than what you think. And I really wanted to capture that sort of essence and try to boil that down into a game. And as it was developing, it just turned into like, oh, wait on, this is basically Alien Isolation, but with Among Us type gameplay. Like, okay, cool. And once I developed that idea, it kind of just blew out from there. Like, okay, well, how can you make Among Us but real life, like realistic? Which is trickier than you think, because Among Us is a very cartoony game. So when stuff happens in that game, you can't do exactly the same thing in a realistic setting. You have to think outside the box a little bit.
And creatively, when you're making something, this happens a lot in film. I've seen it happen in games. If you're making something and then someone makes another project that's similar to yours, for example, like Among Us, it was 2D, like was it isometric or, like very cartoony, you say, and then someone made like a 3D version of it. Were you making Mimic when that came out and you were like, bah, like someone's nicked it?
No, not really. It's very difficult for someone to take your idea like wholesale. Like there's always going to be some difference somewhere. And it can be useful as well, because if that game comes out and doesn't do well, you're like, okay, I know what to avoid and what not to do. If it does do well, you're like, okay, we're on the right track. We know there's people out there. So it's very hard to say. That's always a risk of being indie and small development, is that usually you have to do an actual game a lot earlier to get real traction with it. But also that increases risk of people taking your idea and running with it. But you have to have faith in your design philosophy, and what you're trying to do is unique. And if someone else comes up with something similar, so be it. That's not unheard of. We see it in film, we see it in games, we see it in books. Like, it's not unheard of at all. but it's your unique IP that kind of and USP of your game design that really pushes it.
You've obviously, as we've already established, you've built up such a strong community of people that love your games and love the lessons that you give online. What would you say is the most wholesome interaction you've had IRL? That means in real life for the non-gamers. What would you say is the most wholesome interaction you've had with fans and with followers, and what would be the strangest interaction?
Strangest, okay. Most wholesome one, and to this day, it's not a particular event. It's whenever I go to an exhibition where people are displaying their games for show because they're about to release it, they'll come up to me and say, without your videos, without your tuition, without your help, we wouldn't be here at this game. And they say massive thank yous and like massive appreciations and that one. That's really nice to see, because at home all I see are numbers on the screen. I don't see anything else. I just see digits go up. So when you see an output of someone going, oh yeah, we made this game, you helped us with this, that's really, really useful and really, really helpful. And that's always going to be a delight every time I see that. The strangest one, though, what would be the strangest one? The strangest it's not a particular one. It's a strangest experience. That's my first trip to GDC 2024. I mean, I knew I had a big audience. I didn't realize that I'd be so famous in a small little spot, to the point where I was getting stopped every 10 steps for selfies and people asking questions. And I was very exhausted. And as a person who's quite an introvert, that was kind of overwhelming. In fact, oh my God, why were people following me? That was an interesting experience. This year we did it slightly differently for GDC. We actually organised an actual meetup event for people. We had like over 100 sign-ups for that.
I thought you were going to say you wore the skies.
No. I'm always happy to talk to people, and especially if they've got games. I love seeing the stuff they're making, and some of the stuff is really bonkers and really crazy ideas. I love it. But yeah, when that realization, like, oh, hang on, people actually know who I am outside of my office. In fact, I got recognised in Sainsbury's garage while getting petrol for my car. That was weird. It wasn't a gaming event, so I was like, oh, okay, this is weird. They're the weirdest ones. When people actually know who the hell I am.
It's nice, though. It's lovely.
It's nice. Yeah, it's nice. It is nice. Just not used to it.
And those events they're quite stimulating anyway, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, I've in walking down the San Francisco High Street, and I kept getting stopped, and people are like, oh, my, a lot of your stuff. And a local resident just stopped me and went, who the hell are you? Like,
I don't know.
It's a long story. I can't explain it right
Here's
here.
a link.
But yeah, it was just curious as to why people were just wanting selfies with me all the time. Like, I can't explain it. Yeah, that's a fun one.
A popular guy doing good stuff.
Yeah, and I've never been popular, so this is interesting.
So what can you tell us about Mimic in terms of when's it coming
out? When it's done is the closest thing to answer that. I mean, it's difficult when you're solo dev. It's very hard to put down a date early because anything could disrupt that. Like, you may go, okay, we need actually to pay bills this month. Okay, we have to stop work on the game for a while we're getting that going. So that can be tricky. I'm hoping, touch words or anything else, the PC version will be out later this year. Okay. Hopefully.
Until then, they can watch the lives.
They can watch the lives, yeah. There's lots of asterisks after that one, but yeah. I'm hoping to get out a PC, at least early access, this winter.
I'm excited.
So when we met at GDC, I know you were talking to several publishers, specifically around Mimic, I believe.
Yep.
How did that go? How is it going? And yeah, is there anything else you'd like to?
Yeah, we've spoken to a few publishers over the couple of years we've been developing the game and given codes to them and things like that. But for anyone who's got their ear to the ground in the game industry, it's a very weird time for the game industry where investment is low, risks are getting less and less, and people are really tightening their purses a bit. So it's getting very difficult to secure strong backing in that sense. And a lot of publishers would say, come back to us when the game's complete. And I'm like, well, if the game's complete, I won't need your services really as much. So it becomes kind of difficult. And it's got to a point where I'm like, I'm just going to have to do it myself. And thankfully, I've got I'm in a unique position compared to most indie developers, where I've got 120,000 YouTube subscribers, we've got 6,000 people on Discord. Like, I've got a following, and that I can really make use of and say, like, hey, let's advertise the game through our following, let's get that out there, but also ask them for support in the game. So what we want to be in a position of doing is, with these weekly playtests, is saying to people watching that if you want to support the game, please subscribe to our Patreon. Every penny really does matter, and say it is the full-time job. There is no day job supplementing this. This is exactly what you need. So every penny you donate is going to be useful for us to be able to work on the project. And they say the more donations we get, obviously that frees up more time, so I can focus more on the game and get that done sooner. So it all plays into getting the game out as soon as possible. And if people do support on Patreon, as we discussed earlier, they get a load of rewards and benefits too, and they can start learning how to make their own games.
Investment, indeed.
Yeah,
Best to mimic.
I always say support your indie side developers as much as you can. They really are working really long hours trying to get through it. And it can be really grueling for them. So yeah, support any indie developer. If it's not mine, make sure you're supporting other people. They really do need it.
When is it coming to PlayStation 5, and can I have a code, please?
You can have a code. I've estimated PS5 and Xbox March next year.
Cool.
We'll see. As I say, I've got it running on PS5, so in theory, that should be doable.
Ryan, thanks so much for coming down. It's been absolutely fascinating to learn a little bit more about game development. Reckon with some terms that maybe we didn't all understand, and then
Just a few.
No one mentioned.
No, it's been amazing, and just to learn about your teaching and everything like that. We wish you so much luck with the project. Please keep us posted. Obviously, you're going to give me a code after, so I'll be one of main players. I'll probably be the best at it. Yeah, I won't. I'm terrible at those kind of games, but yeah, we wish you nothing but luck.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's been absolutely fascinating. As a little thank you, I've got you a little gift trial.
Oh, okay.
So, as regular viewers will know, this is Vidior. He's the dread god of video production.
Okay.
And also our chief mascot, our Vidior.
So much.
Wear it with pride.
I will.